All right, Americana from mount. Some people will say this is the most basic and fundamental submission in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm not really gonna make an argument against that. It's definitely one of the most fundamental ones. Let's just get down just a little bit here. All right, so I'm in mount on Daniel right here, right? As we discussed, once the person stops going crazy, if they do go crazy to begin with, you can settle yourself a little bit higher into mount. On this position, when we hit the submission, we will still use one anchor on the opposite side, but this is the basic setup, right? I'm reasonably high, so it's gonna be more difficult for Daniel to bridge me off. If he starts putting his arms up, right, boom, his arms are either straight up, or if they're defensive like this, either way, I can hit this pretty easily. I would say if the guy gets his arms in tight like this, which a lot of people will do when you have him mounted, this is gonna be like my go-to. So the guy will bring his arms in tight because he doesn't want to get arm barred. He'll bring his arms in tight because it sort of defends the chokes. And he'll bring his arms in tight because if he can bring his arms in tight and then get his elbows low, he can start pushing me down, either roll me or hit his elbow escape. So once I'm up here and the guy brings his arms in tight, the easiest way, the most fundamental way to hit your Americana is literally going to be 2-on-1, right? This just gives you a complete like mechanical advantage over the guy. From right here, we're going to pin it down almost like a double bench press with gravity on our side. From here, I'm gonna drop this leg back here so I have an anchor on the opposite side. So if Dan starts trying to bridge me towards the Americana, I can put it at a base and I don't just get trapped getting bridged and rolled during my submission. Once this is pinned down here, this elbow is gonna come next to his head. This leg will drop a little bit lower, right? So now I have his head is away from his hand, so it's difficult for him to bring his other hand over his head and defend by grabbing his other arm. And I have the 2-on-1 with his arm still pinned flat to the mat. This hand now is gonna come palm up so I don't block it with my own wrist underneath his tricep. Boom. Once it comes up here, I'm gonna grab my wrist. So I have a double wrist lock on him. One wrist lock on him, one wrist lock on myself. From right here, I'm simply gonna pull his elbow down towards his waist and pick up on his elbow for the submission. I believe we already did the side control attacks where we have the Americana, the straight arm lock, the Kimura. So you all know that the elbow needs to be pulled downwards when you're doing the Americana. If the elbow is way up by the guy's head, the guy can sort of squirm his arm loose. If it's in the middle, you're gonna have to twist it much further to get the submission. So here we are again. Dan has his arms in tight defensively, 2-on-1, power and gravity, pin it, keep my anchor on the opposite side. My elbow comes down next to his head, palm up under his tricep, one wrist lock, two wrist locks, leg drops, pull the elbow down, pick the elbow up, you got your Americana submission right there. Let's turn ourselves the opposite way, head that way. All right, so here we are. Dan goes arms in defensively, 2-on-1, gravity and power. Anchor comes in, elbow comes down next to the head. Right here, hand comes underneath, bam, double wrist lock, leg down, pull the elbow, lift it up. And then let's do one more with our heads facing in that direction. So we're in high mount. Dan gets his arms in defensively, 2-on-1, power and leverage, elbow next to his head, opposite side leg anchored, so if he tries to bridge this way, I can put my hand out and I don't totally lose the position. This hand palm up, under his tricep, one wrist lock, two wrist locks, leg down, elbow up, Americana from that.